Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Friday, December 2nd. I'm your host, Kate Walker. The death of a student at St. Mary's University has made an anguished parent call for change. In summer of 2021, 19-year-old Kai Matthews, an athletic teen who had just returned from his first year at Acadia University, came down with a fever. What followed was a heartbreaking story of how COVID protocols kept him from getting the treatment he needed for what turned out to be meningitis, an infection of the brain and spinal cord. He passed away within 30 hours. SaltWire's John DeMont spoke with Dr. Vivian Brown, a Toronto-based physician, and Kai's father, Nori Matthews, who knows the numbness surely being felt by the parents of the SMU student who died suddenly earlier last month, also of meningitis.
We could not understand. We were blindsided. We like Dr. Brown said, we knew we had him vaccinated for meningitis when he was 12 in junior high.
Dr. Brown, like Matthews, has made it her mission to spread the word about meningococcal meningitis and how the MenB vaccine is not part of the vaccines offered in the education system.
I think parents need to know when we say your kid had a meningitis vaccine that it did not include MenB. Parents need to know that MenB is a separate vaccine. Parents need to know that MenB is the most common kind of meningitis right now. So I think that awareness and fair communication is most important. In the long run, what I would like to see is that MenB gets put into the standard schedule in every province and territory, like it is in the UK and Australia and some other countries, because it is a devastating disease. And I think realistically, if we can't do it immediately, at least we should be communicating so that parents have options.
A new survey by Narrative Research reveals satisfaction with Tim Houston's government remains high in Nova Scotia. The data shows the PCs continue to lead in voter support and Houston remains most preferred as premier. Narrative Research reports 6 in 10 Nova Scotians are highly satisfied with the Tories. That's 61% compared to 62% in August. Research shows 4 in 10 decided voters would vote for the PCs if an election were held today. 1/4 would vote for the Liberals and 25% would vote for the New Democratic Party. Only 5% said they would support the Green Party. Support for the NDP is highest in HRM and lowest elsewhere in mainland Nova Scotia. Halifax Regional Police have charged 2 men in relation to an unsanctioned Dalhousie homecoming party in October. On October 1st, around 4,000 people gathered in the areas of Larch, Preston, and Jennings Streets in Halifax. Chaos unfolded as the size of the gathering grew. A fire was set in the street, fireworks were set off, and a 19-year-old was stabbed. Today, they say 19-year-old Jordan Oslek is scheduled to appear at a later date in Halifax Provincial Court to face 3 counts of assaulting a police officer and 1 count each of assaulting a police officer with a weapon and resisting arrest. The second man, 19-year-old Luke Slip, is also scheduled to appear in court to face 2 counts of assaulting a police officer and 1 count each of causing a disturbance and resisting arrest. HRP says officers issued 122 summary offense tickets, 112 for Liquor Control Act violations. 4 people were arrested for public intoxication under the Liquor Control Act, and 10 summary offense tickets were handed out for noise bylaw violations. 2 of Nova Scotia's finest contemporary songwriters, Rhea May and Carlton Stone, are back in front of their local fans next week, performing tunes from their latest releases. May is on stage at the Lighthouse Arts Centre on Thursday with Virginia to Vegas with her fresh new single, Please Don't Go. Meanwhile, Port City's member Carlton Stone launches Paper Cut, his first solo record in 8 years at the Carlton on Friday. He also has upcoming shows in Truro and Sydney. SaltWire Network's Stephen Cook caught up with both artists about returning to the stage with music that they made during the pandemic.
The past few years have been a rocky road to navigate for all artists, but some were able to channel their experiences from the period into fresh new work that reveals new layers and shades of their talent. With their recent album Therapy and the catchy new single Please Don't Go, Halifax pop artist Rhea May performs in her hometown on Thursday. It's her Rock, Paper, Scissors tour with Virginia to Vegas, aka songwriter Derek Baker, which reaches the Lighthouse Arts Centre. And she looks forward to introducing her latest songs and bringing her friend Baker to a hometown crowd.
I've known him for years, since some of my first press runs, and it's just really fun to get to be with him and his band on this you know, halfway across the country. And yeah, the shows have been great so far. It feels a bit weird to be back after all that time off of touring, but it's at the same time, it's there's so many little things you forget about, the little coffee shops and vegan restaurants in each city and the people that show up in each city. And it's yeah, it's been really heartwarming and nice to be back on the road.
May last performed here on the Grand Oasis stage in Grand Parade this summer. It gave fans their first chance to hear her songs from therapy, which channel her feelings and frustrations from lockdowns and the arts being in limbo with no end in sight.
I started getting into, like, you know, feeling depressed and writing sad songs, and then being like, who am I as an artist? I don't want to put out any songs. And kind of ended up, the very last song I wrote after the entire pandemic was over, and I had moved my home from Toronto back to Halifax. I wrote the song The Old Me with Bria Isabel, just about coming back to your hometown and feeling not as confident as you assumed you would as all these sort of memories of people and places hit you.
Cape Breton native Carlton Stone also had to find a creative outlet while his former group Port Cities was sidelined by COVID. So he naturally started writing songs for himself and his first solo project in 8 years, the heartfelt and rootsy new record Paper Cut. He also stretched out his studio skills, producing his record and a new one for his Gordie Sampson song camp pal, Willie Stratton.
Just kind of freaked out and watching the news too much and stressing myself out over, like, what is our business going to be like, you know, after this, or when is this going to end, or just all that uncertainty. So I think diving into the production stuff was really the only thing that kind of kept me sane. It was just like, you could at least focus in on something and kind of forget about what was going on in the outside world.
Stone is back on stage this month with 4 Paper Cut release shows, starting at the Carlton on Friday, December 9th, and appearances in Charlottetown and Sydney with Renee Smith and Truro with Willie Stratton. He'll share the new songs and stories of how they came about.
Just taking all that experience and putting it back, it's like into what I want to say as an artist now. And I do feel like, you know, I'm a bit older now, that the things I'm talking about have a little more weight to them, I hope, and aren't just some, you know, 20-year-old writing about adultery or whatever, you know. So yeah, it's been fun just kind of having that more mature point of view, and being like, okay, what do I want to say as an artist this time?
For EMA tickets, visit sonicconcerts.com. For information about the Carlton Stone dates, go to carltonstone.com. In Halifax, I'm Stephen Cook for the SaltWire Network.
It's time for another Friday edition of Wine of the Week with SaltWire sommelier and foodie Mark DeWolf. If you're looking for a special wine to bring to a holiday party or dinner, Mark has you covered.
So let me introduce you to Susana Balbo Criollos Red Blend from Argentina. And you might be asking, is Susana Balbo a real person? She is real, and she is a rock star. You know, she was the first woman to graduate from the Enology program in Argentina, first woman winemaker in Argentina, and even got to the point where she was the head of the winemaking association in Argentina. You know, the drinks business once said she was one of the 10 most influential women in the wine world. So, rock star. Had the pleasure of meeting her once. She is just that, but really was very gracious too. So the wine, it's a blend of Malbec, Syrah, and a bit of Petit Verdot, and it's grown in a special place in Mendoza called the Uco Valley, which just sits a little bit higher, and that contributes to the style of the wine. What I love about this wine, she uses oak, but it's kind of subtle, you know. It's not all this new oak. It's there to help round out the wine, not add too much to flavor, but adds to the texture of the wine. So it allows the black and red fruits, the floral tones, a little of that crushed rock or mineral character to come through, and delivers a really drinkable but still complex wine. So if you want a special wine, it's not that special price. It's pretty affordable, but if you want a special wine to bring to the holiday dinner party or as a gift, try this one. And again, you can get this at Bishop Cellar.
And you can find more of Mark's wine picks, tips, and cooking classes, including his latest feature holiday soup recipes, on the Wine and Dine section of saltwire.com. It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with singer-songwriter Lenny Gallant.
We're getting back to live performances. I know a lot of people over the last day or so are talking about their Spotify playlists, and I'm curious as to what the streaming services mean for an artist like Lenny Gallant. Is that something that you think about, given that you're doing the work that you've done for years, which is recording albums, putting them out, and touring to support them and get in front of people to perform?
Well, streaming is a double-edged sword, as you know. It's nice that people have instant access to an artist if they want to check out an artist, and I'm really glad about that. People are discovering my work, but at the same time, it's difficult financially because streaming pays so little bit. I think what is it? I think if 1 million people listen to your record, you make like $4,000. It's crazy. But at the same time, it's good that people are listening to it, and hopefully they will come out to the show. I'm very fortunate in that I still have a number of people who buy the physical copies of the album, because that's really where an artist can make a few dollars and try to support the tours and so forth.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of SaltWire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
Maya Allen is a soccer player from Nova Scotia, and she attended the recent East Coast Elite Showcase and Combine and had a 5-goal game. Maya, what was going on with you in that game, scoring 5 goals?
I'm not sure. I just went out to have fun, and then I started scoring, and it was just the opportunities. I was just having a bunch of good plays made to me, and I was just I don't know. It was different. It was a good game.
How many times have you scored 5 goals in a game at this level?
Once at the Combine, the first time.
What were your teammates saying to you as the game went on, and all of a sudden it's 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals? What were they saying to you?
They were just geez, and they were just kept telling me to keep going. And they were they didn't even know, because it was so surprising.
Who was there watching you, from family, friends, or otherwise? And what were they saying after the game?
My dad came to watch, and he was so excited I scored all these goals. He was so happy. And then my coaches too, they were what an amazing performance. They were surprised, because that's a lot of goals for such high-level players too.
Just an incredible performance by Dartmouth, Nova Scotia's Maya Allen. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Allen tucks it in. Could it be? Will it be? It is number 5.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now. To see what's coming up in the weekend forecast, we're going to check in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Happy Friday, Kate. Well, it was a beautiful sunny day here in HRM, and if you're wondering what the upcoming weekend is looking like, well, we do have a mixed weather picture. This evening, it will be clear and the temperature near -3, but winds will become southerly overnight tonight, so we rise. We'll start the day on Saturday near 5 degrees, a south wind of 20 to 40 kilometers per hour with a mix of sun and cloud, but it does become cloudy as we go through the morning and the afternoon with a south wind of 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, and we will see the temperature climbing up to 10 degrees. Now, this is ahead of a very similar system to what we had Wednesday night into Thursday. Low pressure moving well to our north, but the frontal boundary will cross the region, a warm front followed by a cold front. So we will see some periods of rain that could be heavy at times as we go late Saturday evening into the overnight hours into early Sunday morning. There will be very strong southerly winds as well during this system, gusting 50 up to 70, maybe even 80 kilometers per hour. So not as strong as last time, but certainly still windy. About 15 to 30 millimeters of rain is forecast here in HRM. Now behind that front, we do start to clear out. So rain on Sunday morning will clear to sunshine throughout the day. But we will see falling temperatures. We'll start the morning near 9 degrees, and then we will fall down to 5 degrees by the afternoon. So certainly the weekend looking unsettled, but not a total washout. However, if you're planning to do some Christmas decorating or maybe putting those decorations back outside after bringing them in Wednesday night, well, you might want to hold off until Monday when things calm down, or at least later in the day on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. We leave you today with a glimpse of last night's Boston Christmas tree lighting. It's become tradition each year for Nova Scotia to send a tree to Boston as a thank you gift for Boston's help after the Halifax explosion in 1917. That's all for now. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here Monday.